the exhausting pursuit of perfection and how finding peace in our flaws might actually be the path to a more meaningful life. I'm sure myself and many others have constantly strived for some idealized versions of ourselves, always chasing that perfect job, a perfect relationship, a perfect home, or maybe even a perfect body, but only to find that the finish line just always keeps on moving. The goal, even though when we reach it, it always goes further and further for that goal. It just moves instantly without even having second thoughts about what we just accomplished. And the thing is that we live in a world today with, especially with social media and the online platform, that it celebrates perfection, highlights only the polished parts of life. And there's something to say revolutionary about choosing presence over perfection. And that's something I'll be speaking about today. Perfectionism isn't just about high standards. It's a particular mindset that tells us our worth is tied to our performance, our appearance, our achievements. It's the voice that says you'll be enough when, or when you accomplish more, when you look better, or maybe when you have it all together, or maybe when I'm all rich. This mindset kind of makes a state of always striving, where we're never quite where we want to be and it's never quite good enough. We're always focused on fixing, improving, and polishing both ourselves and our lives. And the thing is that the irony of this is that this constant pursuit of perfection is actually preventing us from experiencing the very things we're trying to perfect. We're so busy trying to create the perfect moment that we miss the actual moment happening right in front of us. Think about it. How many times have we been physically present but mentally absent? Your body could be at a dinner table, but your mind could be reviewing a whole to-do list that you're thinking about and the goals you're trying to work up towards. Or maybe you're at the beach, but maybe you've been thinking about how all the photos might look online. Or maybe you're with your partner or a loved one, but part of you is kind of critiquing about how you're showing up. The thing is that with this divided attention, the split between where we are and where we think we should be creates a constant stream of stress, anxiety, and a lot of really dissatisfaction. And the thing is that we're never fully here because part of us is always reaching for more. And perhaps the most painful perfectionism keeps us isolated. When we believe we need to present a flawless image to the world, or maybe when we hide our struggles, our questions, or the messy parts of our lives, we create distance between our real selves and others, and that creates a lot of missing opportunities for a genuine connection with something or someone. And the thing is that with mental and emotional exhaustion, man, it's probably like the most of immediate cost. The thing is that with constant self-monitoring, self-criticism, and striving, it creates a mental burden that really is super draining. And the thing is that it makes us never off duty from self-improvement. It makes you more just always doing that. And if we're not doing that, we're doing something wrong, you know? And the thing is that that follows up instantly by just losing all the joy naturally. When we're always focused on what could be better, we struggle to appreciate what's already good. The present moment, the only moment we actually have, just becomes merely a stepping stone to some idealized future. It damages relationships, often result from perfectionism. We might become critical of others who don't meet our own standards, or we might withhold our authentic selves, showing only our polished parts and missing opportunities for that real connection. And another thing that could happen is maybe you have a lot of creative paralysis, and that's also another thing. When we're afraid of making mistakes or producing something imperfect, we often don't create it at all. And a lot of ideas remaining unexplored, projects unstarted, and a lot of voices unheard of just because of mistakes, and missed opportunities start to build up when perfectionism keeps us from trying out new things unless we're certain we will exceed. The rich experiences that come from being a beginner, from learning and growing through imperfect attempts, remain unexperienced because of how everybody just always wants to be a master at that certain thing. And maybe in my opinion, the most fundamentally, perfectionism creates a conditional relationship with our own selves. Our own self acceptance becomes contingent on meeting impossible standards, and it creates a foundation of self worth that just makes it super unstable and unreliable. And these costs aren't just rhetorical. It shifts our focus from perfect outcomes to present engagement. The shift begins with a fundamental question, like, what if your worth isn't tied to your performance? Or what if you're already enough, exactly how you are, you know? And maybe we can start from this foundation that our value isn't just earned through achievement, but it is inherent to who we are. Everything changes. Life changes. The environments changes. What's around us changes. We could still strive for excellence, but from a place of self-acceptance rather than self-criticism. This shift from perfection to presence involves several key mindset changes. And that could be from outcome to process. Instead of fixating on solely results, we can learn to value and enjoy the journey itself, as a lot of people say. The quality of our engagement becomes just as important as what we produce. And from comparison to maybe even personal growth. And rather than measuring ourselves against others, we focus on our own selves, because every single person is unique in their own certain type of way. And it could be from very high standards to very low standards, but that's acceptable. We could replace harsh judgment with the same kindness we would offer a good friend or towards ourselves. And sometimes that could also be from a fear of failure to curiosity. We could reframe mistakes not as evidence to what we don't know, but we could shape that towards valuable information and opportunities that we could learn. And the thing is that the shift doesn't just happen overnight. It's a practice, you got to stay consistent with it. But the thing is that it requires awareness. It requires intention, consciousness, and a regular recommitment. But with each small choice to prioritize presence over perfection, we create more space for peace, meaning, and connection. When we embrace our imperfections, we often create more perfect lives, not just conventional standards, but by deeper, more meaningful ones. When we stop exhausting ourselves with the pursuit of flawlessness, we discover energy for what truly matters. When we release the need to control everything, we create space for surprise and wonder. When we allow ourselves to be seen in our own authentic way, showing our flaws and all our strengths and weaknesses, we open the door to deeper connections, not just towards ourselves, but towards others, to show what we really are and what we embrace as our own uniqueness. And this doesn't just mean we stop growing or improving, but it means that our growth comes from a place of self-acceptance rather than just self-rejection. We're not just fixing ourselves because we're broken, we're evolving because growth is natural and meaningful. In this way, embracing imperfection isn't about lowering our standards. It's about expanding our definition of what makes a good life so beautiful and worthy, to not just include achievements, excellence, or glory, but also presence, connection, compassion, and maybe even just peace with ourselves. A journey from perfection to presence isn't just a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. There's going to be moments where there's going to be old patterns that resurface, old habits, bad habits. And when the voice of perfection grows loud enough for you to hear, with each return to presence, with each choice to value being overdoing, with each act of self-compassion, the path becomes more familiar toward yourself that you familiarize yourself with. And you know what? Maybe that it could be the most beautiful part of the journey of life. It doesn't require perfection, and we don't have to get this perfectly right either. We could practice presence imperfectly, finding peace in not flawlessness, but in gentle return to what matters most. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts and experience are in the comments. How has perfection showed up in your life? What helps you shift from perfect to present? Thank you for watching, and remember, you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love, connection, and peace. You just need to be present. And if you like the video, like and subscribe. Until then, John Tooney out. Peace.